Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Racing Edge this Friday morning. We finally have the full list of updated parts on the Ferrari SF24 for the weekend. And these changes involve changes to the sidepods, to the rear wing, to the floor fences, to the floor body, the floor edge and diffuser. So it's a huge amount of changes that have been undertaken by the team. So without further ado, let's jump right in and discuss all of these changes. And to begin with, I want to start off with the most visually striking change on the SF24, and that is the sidepods. Now, a lot of work has been undertaken to make the sidepods that much more tighter than the previous iteration, which they first introduced back in Imola with the Red Bull style overbite arrangement. Now, with this particular upgrade for Spain, what they've done is increase the undercut on the sidepods for the event. And of course, this is visually striking because you can see on the screen just how much more volume they've managed to introduce to this undercut from looking at last time out in Canada to this race here in Spain. And it's a significant reduction in size and increase in this undercut. Now this of course is going to enable the team to make sure they're guiding a lot more airflow cleanly around the sidepod all the way back towards the diffuser and beam ring of the car. So this is quite a substantial change alongside all the other small things that have been either refined with this particular package, and it's going to amount to quite a big lap time gain for the car and for the team. And that should be similar to that of the Imola package, so between 1.5 to 3/10, and that 3/10, if they get there, will come from the fully optimization of that package. Also, there's another interesting change to note from these particular pictures, and that is the winglet on the halo has now been elongated to finish and to sit at the height of the halo on the SF24. Up next, there's quite a bit of change when it comes to the floor fences, the floor body and the floor edge for the new upgrade here in Spain. And now, while they may not look visually easy to spot and to see, there are changes, and I'm going to show you now those on the screen. As just mentioned, there's a much better look at the undercut and the extra amount of room for the airflow to travel around the sidepod to the back of the car. But away from all of that, noticeable changes have been made to the bulge that is kind of encasing the lower assist fairings on the SF24, and you can see that with a back-to-back comparison from the Imola upgrade package to here in Spain. There also seems to be a slight change and difference with the shape on the floor. Where the VGW Play logo is, there seems to be a little bit of an indentation, which maybe because of the picture quality not being so good on the Imola picture, but there does seem to be a little change there as well. Now, in the upgrade notes that was released by the FIA this morning, Ferrari also talk about the Venturi tunnels and what alterations they've made with that as well. And we can see here from the picture that the floor tunnel fences have been slightly altered. And this change is all about improving the flow quality which is delivered to the rear floor and diffuser. Now, interestingly, Ferrari also speak about the lowering of the front floor roof. Now, I can't find any comparison pictures of that or see these changes on the car, but look out for anything over on all the other socials that you get your information from. I am sure you'll find something out there where they have a good picture since the time of which I've uploaded this video to the channel. Further back on the SF24, there is also a brand new rear ring, and it's a very subtle change from the one that they've been running ever since the Imola Grand Prix in Italy. And alongside this, the specification of rear ring is being used in tandem with the beam ring that they introduced last time out in Canada, which also is a medium downforce specification. So what also I am finding from this, as we've seen a lot of the rear rings up and down the grid so far installed on all the cars is that Ferrari are on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to the downforce levels that the rear ring they've installed. A lot of the teams have gone for a high drag downforce specification, whereas Ferrari have gone for a little bit less downforce and maybe a bit more top speed. Now, I can look at this, and you can as well, in a number of different directions. It means they're very confident in the downforce levels and load that they can produce with this rear ring for this event, and they're very confident in that. Or they feel they have a little bit of a weakness when it comes to straight line speed up against the likes of Red Bull, and they're wanting to offset that for race conditions. Now, let's actually take a look at this brand new rear ring for the event and then put it alongside all the other rear rings that they've had and make comparisons. Now, there's a really interesting shot or interesting image that Formula Data Analysis over on Twitter created of all the specifications of rear ring that Ferrari have used this season thus far. And there are noticeable changes to those, of course. Now, what's interesting with these three specifications of rear rings is the subtleties with them all. And of course, we can see that quite clearly from the image. For this particular event and this racetrack in itself, it requires a certain downforce level. And so Ferrari couldn't run the medium downforce level because it didn't offer enough downforce in the high speed sections of the track, and they would lose out in the corners through them. And of course, the Monaco specification is far too draggy on the straight, and it just, in a race situation where you're trying to overtake, it would be a nightmare for the teams, even with DRS, I would suspect. And so they brought a medium range rear ring in terms of the spectrum of the three rings that they've had thus far this season, and it's a middle ground. It provides just enough downforce for all the corners, so you're making sure you're not losing out in them. And of course, it's not as draggy as, say, the Monaco spec rear ring would have been. And of course, all of this would have been calculated in the simulation tools and in the setup work that they've done in the sim over the last week. And finally, quite an important update on the diffuser for once as well, with a reworked diffuser, boat and keel expansion for this event. Now, this benefits from a tidier upstream of the flow structures, and the diffuser expansion, together with boat and keel volume optimization, as Ferrari puts it, has allowed the team to extract more local load gains throughout all the different speed ranges of corners that we have across the entire calendar. Now, unfortunately, again, I don't have a new picture from this weekend of the diffuser, but what I will do, I'll put a picture up on the screen of the diffuser last time out in Canada. And you can see the particular changes that will take place, as the arrows on the screen will be indicating the areas to look out for when we do get pictures of the new diffuser this weekend. Now, all in all, what can we expect in terms of lap time gains, but also the pecking order? Is these upgrades going to change how the pecking order for this event is going to be taken? I feel from the kind of press cuttings from like Science and Leclerc, Science in particular expects the pecking order to change this weekend. And for me, that strikes as him having a lot of confidence in these upgrades, and that he feels it's going to provide quite a substantial improvement for the team moving forward for this event. And with in tandem Red Bull supposedly not bringing a major upgrade for this event, and all the upgrades that they've made have been specified as circuit changes, so track specific, not necessarily performance gains, it could be quite a fruitful weekend for the Scuderia outfit. Now, that's not me saying I personally believe this is going to be the case. I've learnt well and truly this season to no longer, in a sense, predict what I think is going to happen in the pecking order. But what I know for certain is, if the temperature and the weather stays stable, Ferrari will be in a much better place for qualifying and for the race event. And they won't have the issue of warm-up on the tyres and for qualifying that they had last time out in Canada. So I feel depending on the size of the upgrades for the other teams as well, Ferrari could take quite a bit of a leap forward for the event, because Mercedes have brought no upgrades. They've not announced any, and that's been published through the FIA. McLaren have only got a few smaller updates and changes to their car. So it seems like out of all the big teams, Ferrari has brought the biggest package for this event, which is quite intriguing. So hopefully it's a great weekend for Ferrari as a team and for the fans of Ferrari, but also the overall sport and the spectacle that we can expect to see and to witness and unfold throughout the weekend. And if it rains as expected during the race, things could be extremely interesting during the race. The last time we had a wet race was all the way back in 1996, when Michael Schumacher ran that race by nearly over a minute, coming in 45 seconds ahead of the second placed finisher. So yeah, expect for quite the eventful weekend. And I always love this event because we finally get to see a true pecking order of where all the teams sit and the gaps between all the cars. But yeah, right guys, that's the video. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like, smash the button down below, subscribe and turn on notifications if you're new, and I will catch you all in a further video later today.